All right, guys.
$3.
One day,
Same tree. Oh my God, I'm so
Woo!
Boy, holy shit! Get a shot of these.
2 farms this year. Number 1 is done.
Did you say bye, Kevin?
I did. I already did. Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye, Kevin. Bye, Kevin.
Smoked it, buddy. Look at that. You destroyed it.
Joey takes
The shop is closing up.
Make sure he takes all his right antlers.
Well, all right, guys. Welcome to the Deer Shop Podcast, episode 35, brought to you by the Leaky Jumbo Company, Siman Brothers Outdoors. Today's topic is actually the Leaky Jumbo.
Yeah.
So we've been wanting to get some more fishing stuff going. It's springtime here now, Northeast Ohio. Luke has his own in operation. Last night, the boys got together. Who was all here last night?
It was me, Ethan, Isaac,
Okay.
Freeman, and Dylan.
So the boys got together last night and recorded a podcast on our trout camp, our annual trout camp we've been doing since I was in high school. So
Yeah.
It's been, 16, 17, 18, something around those years. We've been doing this annual trout camp to Pennsylvania. They came in here, recorded a podcast. Everyone, went home, went to bed. Woke up this morning, and pretty much everyone except Freeman was like, some of the things we talked about on there, maybe we should, what's the word for it? We should kind of leave out, or, some of those stories are kind of personal or a little bit just too much. And if you've ever been at any of our trout camps, you kind of know what we're talking about probably. And it's hard to talk about it without giving away information and stuff. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, any of those, you probably won't hear any of that conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, though, I am going to splice in parts of it. I'll be able to go through and salvage some stuff. So we might have some trout fishing content at the end of this one just to kind of extend it. Or I'll go through it and see if it's worth putting on YouTube, and we can do something with that. But it needs a lot of editing, I guess is the word for it.
Lots of cutting out.
Lots of cutting out. So if you've been watching the podcast lately, we've been talking about shed hunting a lot, deer hunting season winding down, and then getting into the new year. We had our big bear film and bear podcast, which that one got a little bit testy at the end, actually. I don't know if you listened to that one yet, but
I haven't listened to it. So
we were pretty tuned up by the end of the hour and a half. Anytime you get Uncle Jay in here, it gets a little bit wild. But today we're talking about the Leaky Jumbo, which is pretty much half of our operation, but it doesn't appear on the podcast much. The Siman Brothers Outdoors YouTube channel is mostly hunting related with a few camps here and there. But a couple years ago, and I'll let Luke tell the story, but a couple years ago, Luke kind of went off on his own path and started a fishing channel called the Leaky Jumbo Company, specifically for fishing, boat-related content, and waterfowl stuff of that nature. Because it was a little bit of a different niche than we were in, and it was something that he was very interested in kind of going off on, and it kind of has evolved into what you see in front of us here with our merchandise and all these custom logos. But I'll let Luke start. The Leaky Jumbo Company, what is it? Where can they find it? Where's it started? Just give us the rundown, man.
So the Leaky Jumbo Company, just mostly known as the Leaky, like that's just what everyone calls it.
Yeah, we all call
locally
it Leaky
because it's just such a long word to say. But it's a YouTube channel, and we were doing some fishing on Siman Brothers Outdoors a while ago, but we just weren't getting any views because it was not related to deer hunting.
Yeah, I mean, deer camp, deer hunting, November, December is kind of our bread and butter for SBO. So,
and I fished a lot regardless, and I filmed a lot of stuff, but we didn't really make too many videos. And then it was like right after COVID, I'm like, we should just make a YouTube channel just for fishing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we came up with the idea of just making the Leaky Jumbo Company. And we kind of made it so it's like, it's for around here, like it relates to all the fishing in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, very area specific.
Yep. And it's a YouTube channel. I have a web store, theleakyjumbocompany.com, and that's where we have all of our apparel. Everything in front of me right here is on there, except this hat. If you guys are watching on YouTube, the deer camp hat. But that's a design I actually did and sold to a different company, so it can't be on the web store, but it's just one of the designs. And so the way it works is it's a Shopify store, so there's not actually like inventory here.
Which is kind of a bummer. At times it'd be nice to have a collection.
We
do have some extras, but
it's nice to have some stuff. But like when you guys go on there and someone buys something, it gets made in Michigan, I believe, and then shipped to your house in like 4 to 12 days, depending on what it is. But
yeah, it's pretty fast.
It can be fast, and sometimes it can be slow, and I'll go over that in the day-to-day, what I do every day after work with the company. But it's a YouTube channel, it's a web store, and it's also got all the SBO stuff on there too. So we needed a place to sell all the SBO stuff, so we put it on that web store.
And, not to cut in real quick, but we had we've always wanted to kind of have our own clothing designs. And when you first start up a YouTube channel or whatever it is, Instagram, whatever social media company, there's a lot of little small companies you can use that you can upload your logo to. They can make you something, But for mass-produced stuff and for real customized stuff, like some of Luke's hats up here, and now we have whole collections of SBO and Trout Camp and Deer Camp, and there's some other companies you work with now and do logos with. If you wanted a lot of that stuff all on one spot, you had to make the jump to your own store and brand name and trademark and all that. And it was easy for us to make some SBO hoodies at 10 at a time and give them to our friends. But now that we have all these different logos, I really like the SBO Deer Shot podcast with the deer in the back of the side by side. That's still one of my favorite designs. But to have all that kind of stuff, you need a dedicated space to sell it and to design it and to work on it. And that's what the LeakyJumboCompany.com became for us. So even though it is fishing based in name and Luke's channel is all fishing stuff, you can find all our hunting and all our Deer Shot podcast merchandise on that website as well.
So like the idea of having a web store came from Sam Saholt, Public Land Tees. He was a huge inspiration for us because this is like a normal guy, and he started his own shop a couple years, I believe, before we even had the idea. But we always liked this stuff, and we would share it on Instagram to each other, and like this is super cool. And then like one day I'm just like, we just need to do it ourselves. Yeah. And we just started designing logos, and that's really where it came from. But
I mean, you have designed 95% of the logos, I'd say, that are on there. The only one, the original SBO logo, Isaac actually came up with in clip art in 2009 or something like that, like a very long time ago. And then we all kind of chipped in and made the Deer Shot podcast logo with a couple of us had some ideas and, put that together. But all the other designs in there, I know Ethan's kind of helped you with a few of them, but all the other designs are your creations over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And that's just something I'll do. Like we'll get to that in the day-to-day, but I design logos every once in a while. If I have an idea, we'll talk about it in the group chats and stuff, and we'll kind of come up together. But I do all the designing at home, like on my computer, and it takes a lot of time, but it's definitely worth it in the end when someone, like strange people, will just buy them from across the country, and it's just a really cool feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple guys you have, I don't want to call them pro staffers, they're not really pro staffers, but there's a couple of different guys, Instagram fishermen guys that wear a lot of your stuff in their videos and in their Instagram posts. And, there a lot of guys are looking for that small company because not everyone wants to wear Patagonia and, Goog and stuff all the time. They love to rep those smaller companies like ourselves or like you. And I think that's pretty cool to go on there and see that kind of stuff.
So during the day-to-day, like every day, doing something like this, I design the logos. I don't do like a logo design every day. I mean, I go months on end in between them, and sometimes I'll do 4 or 5 in a week.
Yeah, you probably kind of dabble with your logo design just like I dabble with the video stuff. Every day I might get on my computer and just couple, maybe an hour's worth just chipping away at one video or make a few shorts or work on some Photoshop stuff for some thumbnails or some pictures. It's not... I go into every day not thinking, I got to work on this, I got to work on this. I usually sit down and just let the computer kind of direct me where I'm going to go, and I'm sure that's the same way with you.
I mean, there's definitely 3 or 4 designs that get trashed before I make a different one that's completely not relatable. Yeah. And we just do that. I do that for most of them. There's 2 or 3, rough sketches, and then I come up with something completely different, but it fits and it works, and that's what we use. Yeah. Another part of the day-to-day is the coordinate. I got to coordinate returns and refunds for people. Like a lot of people will buy the wrong size and they'll get it and they'll actually send it back. And I don't think I've ever gotten burned on a refund. Which
most of the time, if people are dealing with small companies on this level, they're not looking to, swindle you out of money because obviously A, you won't ever let them order again, and B, what's the point of taking money from a small company? You're only wearing it because you want to wear it. This isn't necessary to life kind of clothing and stuff,
Which that wasn't what I expected. I thought there'd be people all the time, but
it
really works pretty well.
The bigger you get, the more that'll happen, obviously. and the growth has been pretty slow from what I understand.
Yep.
You're doing very well right now with some of your SEO stuff on these videos and your latest fishing videos. But, there's a million clothing companies like this, a million design companies. And, it's very cool for us to be able to have our own. But, from the general public standpoint, it takes a while to build that brand.
And it's a very saturated brand right now.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, what I noticed is all the Instagram influencers and stuff like that, they're all starting their own thing.
And it was all after COVID. So when COVID hit when COVID hit and normal people like yourself that were out of a job for a month or however long you had to stay home, when that happened, everybody sat around and just started trying to come up with ideas for what they wanted in their life, what they wanted in the future, what's another way to make money, what's something you enjoy, what's cool. And there's a lot of these startup, design companies. I've ordered plenty of stickers from other companies. Like there's the shed hunting ones, and then there's that other guy that draws the naked fish. And I can think of all these millions of different companies that have done this kind of thing after COVID. And it's real cool. I like buying stuff like that, and we're just another one in that list. But, slowly, if you keep grinding, some progress can be made,
Yeah, and definitely a lot of it is making the social media content, which is primarily YouTube videos for my YouTube channel. I do some pictures and stuff like that on Instagram and Facebook, but most of it is me going out and fishing. And for every video there's probably 2 or 3 boat trips that ended up with no video because I didn't catch any fish or the weather turned, or there's all sorts of reasons. It happens all the time, but it's just like hunting, how much we hunt and don't use video from that day.
So let's talk about your content real quick. Your content, your fishing content is mostly, I would say, 80 to 85% of the time you're solo fishing. Filming with action cams, GoPros, DJIs. You're a big user of the DJI.
I love the DJI.
Yeah, you're an Osmo guy. Most of it is solo, and if you have someone with you, there's just one other guy, and they're usually not a camera operating type of guy. You go with Will,
absolutely.
You go with Kyle, you go with Dad, and those guys are just not camera type people. So you're running the boat, you're doing the fishing, and you're doing the camera at the same time. But I'll let you go more on that section of stuff.
I mean, the solo fishing can make it kind of hard, especially when you're going with guys. You're just getting half the video. That can be a
fishing is not something that's easy to, you can have a chest mount and a head mount camera, or a camera watching you from the side of the boat or the side of the shore, and it's tough to coordinate. There's lots of filming when nothing's happening, that's the rough part about fishing. Imagine if you go on a 6-hour fishing trip and you got your camera rolling half the time. That's 3 hours of footage you got to cut down. That's a lot of editing, but you've had some pretty cool captures in the last couple of years fishing wise, and sometimes when it works out perfect like that, it's worth it. A couple of your big walleye. I know we're going to talk about your smallmouth. I guess right now might actually be a very good time to kind of get into the different kinds of fishing we can find on your channel, because it kind of started one direction and has drifted another direction, and I think you want to reel it back into the original direction this summer.
So the fishing here in Northeast Ohio is very rare. We have a super, super good smallmouth fishery and all these tributaries that run into Lake Erie. So, I mean, you can go down any road and run over a bridge, and there's going to be a smallmouth bass under that bridge.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to smallmouth fish. I do a lot of smallmouth fishing in the summertime.
I mean, there's world record size smallmouth in Lake Erie.
Yeah.
Fish that end up in Lake Erie, they have threatened the world record for smallmouth, which I think is 11 or 12 pounds. Kentucky.
Something around there,
People catch 9 and 10 pounders in Lake Erie every year.
So smallmouth fishing, that's definitely my favorite fishing, even though it's not YouTube's favorite fishing. Yeah,
that's kind of like, just like anything that we like doing here at Siman Brothers Outdoors. The things that we really love to do aren't necessarily the things people want to watch.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like that's a give and take kind of thing, because you're going to keep hammering out these smallmouth videos, and you have a bunch of really good ones on your channel. If you're into fishing, you got to check out these smallmouth videos. They're pretty cool. I know with this podcast type format, especially if you're watching on YouTube, it sounds monotonous and maybe a little awkward to sit here and talk about fishing, but when Luke's out there with this smallmouth rod in those rivers, those videos are going fast. They move, they flow pretty good. He's catching good fish. That's kind of his element, is a GoPro strapped to his chest and a fishing rod in his hand.
Definitely the POV style wade fishing is that's what I like the most. I mean, that's my favorite thing to do, and because I don't have to get the boat out, I can just go wade these local creeks and catch good smallmouth. I mean, 4 or 5 pound fish sometimes, and that's definitely
I mean, a 5-pound smallmouth in a small Lake Erie tributary, that's something. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
something.
literally something.
Yeah, to us it's like, everyday thing, but to other guys, like if someone came from out of state and did that, they would be crazy. So
Yeah.
another one I do, another type of fishing is I do a lot of crappie fishing for like 2 months out of the year. Here in Northeast Ohio, it's weird. You can fish them all year, but it's easier for me. I just troll crankbaits like a hillbilly, and
I mean, crappie fishing is a huge thing here.
Oh, yeah.
Like a
It's
massive, massive thing here. There's a lot of people that dedicate their entire summer to filling up coolers of crappie and just, the game wardens are out there looking, counting limits. Like crappie fishing is a major, major thing here in Northeast Ohio.
so that's fun. I mean, that's probably like some of the most fun fishing because it's just nice in summertime and go on the boat and it's just relaxing. But the biggest thing that YouTube loves, and I've started doing a little bit more, is walleye fishing on Lake Erie. I mean, walleye capital of the world.
We've talked about this. I don't think there's I know a ton of people do it. A ton of people travel here. Walleye charters are a massive thing. We actually eventually have planned a walleye charter podcast. We got tons of friends that run professional walleye charters. And not everyone, but anyone we know with a boat, they use their boat for walleye fishing on Lake Erie.
Oh, yeah.
It's a huge thing. The fall brawl, the spring bash, or
Summer slam or
summer
something
slam.
like that.
There's a bunch of tournaments, and I'm sure everyone saw Meat Eater on social media where the guy had the walleye full of weights. That was a Northeast Ohio thing. A lot of guys we fished with knew those guys and knew that they were up to something no good because they win too much. So, but walleye fishing here in Northeast Ohio is huge, and because of Lake Erie and these crazy walleye hatches and just the way you can catch fish, the old adage is you could just throw a bent spoon out there with a hook on it and catch a walleye.
I mean, you can.
There's
That's
not
the
the
craziest
thing is
thing.
there's not a ton of videos of people showing
right.
walleye fishing. Probably because it's not very sexy to troll walleye fish. I mean,
It's
it is
boring.
super boring to watch unless you're really into walleye. I mean, you're trolling, you're reeling them in slow, you catch them, but I mean, it's a big deal for a lot of people, and those videos of yours have really started to take off, the walleye trolling videos.
Oh, yeah. All my walleye fishing videos they've skyrocketed in the last month just because now everyone's going fishing for walleye, and it's just.
Do you have a trip planned here soon to make another video?
I actually don't have a trip planned for walleye. I'm going to Florida next week, and then when we get back, it's trout camp. So
yeah. What are you going to fish for in Florida?
I'm probably going to fish for pompano on the surf, and I might do some snook fishing, but we're flying down, renting a car, hard to take gear. So
yeah, that's more of a luxury, more of a laid back like vacation.
Oh yeah, a real vacation, yeah.
Than a work vacation like we actually make everything into. You guys might have to take the lead. It doesn't sound like I'm going to be able to make the trout camp this year. Possibly, not sure, because I have a child due here in like 10 days. So you might have to take the lead on all the fishing videos from trout camp. I don't know what you and Isaac and Ethan will have to coordinate on what you want to do.
I don't know what we're going to do exactly yet.
If all those videos end up going on the Leaky John boat this year, or however you end up making them, that's going to be fine because I won't have my hat in the ring for that at all. It doesn't sound like. Maybe Isaac can make a quick camping video with a couple fish being caught in cougar bobs for SBO 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Last year, knowing that it was probably going to be our last major year that everyone wasn't preoccupied with a lot of life. We had a massive trout camp last year, and we made an hour and some minute long video.
Yep.
We call it Trout Camp the Movie. So if you're into that kind of stuff, it's like deer camp for fishing, and it is a lot of fun. I think it turned out really well. I mean, it's one of my favorite videos we have on there. So if you're into that kind of thing, check out Trout Camp the Movie. But we have a playlist full of trout fishing content from going back 15 years. So no shortage on stuff to watch if that's what you're into.
I mean, there's definitely lots of trout fishing stuff on there. People don't watch it though.
No,
it's not.
Some guys. I always see what's the guy's name? Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, Dusty
I actually
Rhodes.
seen he uploaded a video today. So there's this guy. We've never met him. Maybe he'd be a good guy actually to try to get on the podcast now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
This guy named Dusty Rhodes, who fishes PA. He's like a brown trout catching fool. I mean, this dude, the trout he catches puts us to shame. And he's good at it. He targets specific fish that he knows are living in specific rivers. And I would actually love to try to get him on the podcast. That'd be pretty cool, I think.
That would be a good idea, yeah.
Dusty Rhodes, if you ever listen, I'm going to send you this podcast on. I'm going to send you this on Facebook, and then we're going to try to get you on the podcast. So, but anyways, back to your content.
So, I do have some trout fishing content. I think like combined in my 4 or 5 videos, it's like 100 views.
Yeah.
Like, no one
It was
watches
also
it.
earlier in your channel too.
My first video was a trout fishing video, so that's-
you'll definitely, I'm sure, put something together for Trout Camp this year.
oh yeah, we'll
and
have a
get
couple
it on
videos
there.
coming out.
Yeah. Trout Camp's easy to trout fishing videos are easier to film because there's kind of a group of us, and there'll be 3 or 4 of us with cameras usually, and you just got to get the hook set on camera, which is not that hard to do at times.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty easy to get that on camera.
Yeah.
So the boats were a big deal
Yeah,
when it comes to the Leaky John boat.
it all started with, we've always had John boats here at the farm for the ponds, 3 or 4 of them. We take them all over the place and just traverse rivers and just use them legally and illegally as kids. But Luke, the name of the Leaky John boat and kind of the logo and some of the stuff that you can see on some of these hats here, or this one here in front of me, was because of the original Leaky boat, the Leaky John boat, which you can go into the specifics on that because I don't know all the details, but she was one hell of a ride, let me tell you.
So the original Leaky John boat was a 1987 low Big John 1870 flat bottom with an aluminum deck on the front of it, and it was like the biggest John boat you could buy for like
It's
30
bigger
years.
than this room we're in right now.
Yeah, it was huge. And it had like a 20 horsepower Johnson, like pull start Johnson 2-stroke, but it was a center console, so I could pull the motor and then I would drive it from the center console. And it was actually a really convenient boat to use when I was doing a lot of crappie fishing and when we were duck hunting.
Yeah, I mean, it had no application on Lake Erie,
No.
obviously. We always dreamed of taking that boat on fishing trips. So we had, or on hunting trips. So we had always dreamed of, doing the, social media hunter thing where we go to big public land with a river or big lake and take the boat to access these hidden spots because it's this huge flat bottom boat that we could get up into any spot we wanted. And it never came to fruition. We were going to take it to Indiana, and then the areas we were looking at really didn't have water access that was worth a damn. And just the hassle, we talked about it and talked about it, and then Luke sold it.
I did.
He sold the boat. The original Leaky John boat from the original designs and everything has been sold.
Like I sold the boat and then I bought a 1988 Starcraft MR160. That's a center console aluminum deep V, perfect for Lake Erie.
Yeah, that's the boat. How long have you had that boat now? A little over a year?
Yeah, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
2 years this fall, so.
Yeah, so about a year and a half. And, you started taking that one out on Lake Erie and some of the smaller lakes around here, and that thing rips.
I mean, that thing is awesome. It's perfect solo fishing boat. It's got a 48 horsepower Evinrude on it. I mean, it's like small, but just big enough for Lake Erie to be safely on there. And I can do everything that I did with the other boat with it. So it's really a good trade-off, and it works because these walleye videos are what people love watching. So
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to just keep this boat forever probably.
yeah, this one's staying. Like there's no getting rid of this one.
I've been trying to talk Luke into trying to get his original Leaky back.
I always look for it for sale. I've never seen like pictures of it, and I fished the area that it's in.
Do you still have contact with the owner? Like, do you
On
are you
Facebook.
are
I could
you?
probably message him on Facebook.
Yeah, just send him a message like, "Hey, how's the boat doing? Have you used it much? Are you looking to
Like,
get rid of it?"
Like
You
I know
like-
that boat is probably exactly where I left it almost 2 years ago,
I have
without
a
a cover on it.
Yeah,
Like,
I have a feeling that the boat's probably still where it's at. Because you said you haven't seen it anywhere out and about or anything like that.
no, like I definitely would have seen it, and even on like social media, everyone uses social media now.
Yeah.
I would know about it.
Your boat was on, what was that social media page or that Instagram page where they had a bunch of John boats, fancy John boats, and you could like share your boat?
John Boat Junkies, I think it was.
Yeah, John Boat Junkie. I think I have a sticker for John Boat Junkies somewhere.
I think it's on that cooler actually.
Yeah, it's on one of my coolers for sure. But yeah, I mean, those are the two boats you've worked on a couple other boats for people. You've built some small John boats, right?
So actually, when I got rid of the big John boat, Will bought a same thing but just a little bit smaller and dropped it off at the house and said paint it. And I painted it and did a bunch of stuff to it. Got a motor on it, and we haven't used it yet.
You put some nice decking and stuff on, didn't you? Like, isn't it?
Yeah, we put a floor in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just sitting in his barn, and maybe one day we'll get out on it and take some video and show everyone. But
I always had, who was it? Did Spaniel buy a John boat? Our buddy Spaniel, didn't he have like a John boat for a little while that we used on like Spencer Lake?
Yeah.
And I always like wanted to buy one and build one myself back when we were super poor and couldn't afford that kind of thing. And we never really got around to it. I used to fish off Ballard's boat. What did Ballard used to call that thing?
I don't know what it's called.
He had it.
He wants to drop it off. He wants me to paint it.
Ballard had a name for his boat. Yeah, you should let Ballard drop his boat off. We used to fish Spencer Lake a lot with that boat, catch some good catfish. But yeah, do you have any plans on adding boats to the fleet this year?
Not this year.
Not this year. Gonna kind of stay status quo.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I can really add to, but.
Do you have any fishing trips planned for this year? Besides, we already obviously talked about Florida and trout camp, but do you have anything that you want to do on your bucket list this year that you can accomplish for the channel that people should be waiting for?
I might do the Summer Slam and videotape the whole thing, even if I don't like place or win or anything like that. I might do that and just to have content on it.
All it takes is one fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably should. I think that'd be a good idea. We don't do much on the weekends in the summertime anyways, really.
Other than sit on our pond and do some
so we
fishing,
do a lot of that. And that, perfect segue, that's something that I kind of want to get into this year that I've very much lacked on. So when we were kids, deer hunting and hunting in general was actually kind of a very rare occasion. We would do some small game hunting. We get to go deer hunt with Dad a little bit and some turkey hunting in the spring. But, fishing was an everyday thing when we were kids. Every day. And we were running around all the farm ponds around here fishing. I loved fishing for, channel cats and largemouth bass and all these little farm ponds. And we've gotten away from that as we've gotten more into hunting and gotten older and, moved away and this and that. We've gotten away from the farm pond fishing and the getting permission at random farms and just doing a little of this, doing a little bit of that. And I kind of want to get back into it. I used to catfish a lot, when we were teenagers and early 20s. We would go to all these lakes in the evening and just fish for hours and hours and hours for catfish. And we haven't done anything like that in a very long time. Life comes at you fast and moves on, and there's just a lot going on. And, unfortunately, fishing kind of took a back seat. But I do want to get back into that this summer. I want to do at least one or two nice evening fishing trips where we can go out and, try to put some catfish on the table. And I love eating it. Catfish are awesome.
I mean, I prefer the walleye myself, but
you prefer the walleye, but we haven't eaten any young channel cats in a while. It's been a while since we've done a catfish fry, and we used to always do it. Bluegill, bluegill with some wild onions and some morels.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
We definitely needed to kill a turkey, get some morels, find some onions, catch some bluegill,
and find a shed all in the same day.
Well, yeah, I know you're not going to find the shed, so
yeah,
we'll have to see if Isaac or Kendall can find it. And
this year's been a little rough on the shed hunting front, but yeah, we're definitely going to try to get back into some of that more simple stuff, and I think it would make for some good content, especially with with what we've learned with editing over the years and stuff. We'd be able to put together some pretty good stuff, I think, when it comes to the farm pond fishing. Kind of looking forward to that. Where to next?
I think that's all I got.
That's all you got? We're at the 30-minute mark. Like I said, if you're watching on YouTube, we'll probably start including some stuff from our Trout Camp podcast that they did last night. I just had to go through. I wasn't present for it, and I guess they were, some beers were flowing, and there's some stories being told that when they woke up in the morning, they're like, oh my God, we can't share that on there. So I'll do an edit on it and see what I can get. There'll probably be plenty of stuff that we can't actually use. Trout Camp is a major, the number one biggest trip we do every spring. It's huge.
By far.
It's huge. There's a whole playlist on YouTube. If you guys want to watch it, the Siman Brothers Outdoors channel, you can watch the Trout Camp stuff. Trout Camp, the movie, would be a perfect one to watch. That thing, I loved putting it together. I loved filming it. It turned out just about perfect. And unfortunately, our channel doesn't get a lot of views in the springtime, but the content is there. We love doing it. We got the Turkey Camp Chronicles coming up. It'll be here real soon. We're going to a bunch of different states and going to turkey camps, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So there's a lot of things happening. Make sure to follow the Leaky John Boat on Instagram, on YouTube. Go watch some of their stuff. Obviously, the Deer Shot podcast on all your streaming services. Leave a review, a comment, whatever app you use, leave something on it for us. The video is going to be found on the Siman Brothers Outdoors channel. And I think that's all we got for today.
Yep.
Hope you guys enjoyed. A little bit of dive into the Leaky John Boat Company. We're going to have our walleye charter podcast coming up soon, and then hopefully maybe we can get Dusty Rhodes on here to talk about Pennsylvania
That would be
fishing.
cool. We should message him.
I'm gonna try my best to get him on. I don't know if he's done a lot of podcasts or not, but I think we're gonna try to get him on ours here soon. So that's Deer Shot Podcast, episode 35. We are out.